In this video, I want to show you guys how to deal with drums that weren't recorded very well or a sample that doesn't sound very good. Some producers don't like the idea that you're going to replace the snare or replace the kick because it doesn't sound too well. They might tell you, you know what, just, throw some EQ or do whatever you can. Don't get rid of my my sample. Now, if the producer tells you fine, then you could completely do a sound replacement. If not, you're going to have to figure out how to do a snare enhancement or kick enhancement. I'm going to show you 3 ways how to accomplish the same thing. The first way is going to be the manual way, and the other 2 ways, we're going to use plugins. I got a session over here. I'm pretty sure you guys heard. I've used this in my previous videos. So yeah, it's the same old session. Now the first thing I want to do, I want to try to fix the snare. I'm not really liking the way the snare sounds. So I'm going to solo the snare. Let's listen to it. So yeah, it really doesn't sound that good. And let's just say the producer does not want me to delete this sound. I could bring in an EQ, try to make it brighter, bring in a compression, try to change the feel of it, but I don't really want to do that. So what I want to do, I want to bring in another sample and I want to try to enhance this one. So I'm going to look in my workspace. I already selected the snare that I want before I started the video. Drag it over here. Now, before we do anything with the sound we just imported, you're going to have to highlight the snare. We have to open Beat Detective. And I want to go to Region Separation. Then Capture Selection. Make sure it's 16 notes or whatever it is. Then you want to Analyze. Once you analyzed, make sure that make sure it's picking up every hit. So let me just scroll. Make sure it's picking up everything. Pretty good. Over here you have a sensitivity bar. So if you're picking up some of the hits, then just play around with the sensitivity bar. So once you set everything up and you're happy with it, then separate. Nice. As you can see, everything's pretty much separated. It's no longer one continuous file. Just double check. Just double checking. Now there's another way we could do this. If you didn't want to use Beat Detective, let's undo that. Let's use Strip Silence, which will kind of do the same thing, except Strip Silence will completely get rid of everything. As you saw, Beat Detective only separated the regions. But it doesn't matter. Both ways should work fine. So once we have everything the way we want to select the snare and the sample snare, the one we just imported. I want to group them. And we're going to create an edit group. I want to move that over to line up with the original snare. Sweet. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to copy the sample snare through the whole entire track. Now, this might be a little time consuming if you have a 5-minute track, 4-minute track. What you're going to do, you're going to copy. You're going to tap to transient using the tap key. So you're going to tap. So you're going to see it's going to take you right to the beginning of the second hit. You're going to paste. And it's not replacing the top hit. It's only copying the bottom. You're going to tap again. V. Paste. Paste. Nice. Want to bring down the volume on the sample we just imported. And now let's try to blend them in together, see what we get. Now I'm going to turn on the kick and let's see how everything sounds together. Sounds a lot better. If you're happy with the way it sounds, then just save it and print. Do whatever you have to do. If you want to add a little bit of EQ or compression, then you could. Just remember that a lot of these samples are already pre-processed, got compression, they got EQ. Some of them even have effects printed onto them already. All right, so that's one way of doing it. Let's get rid of that group. I'm going to delete the group. We no longer need it. Now, the next way I'm going to show you guys, we're going to use a plugin. And the plugin we're going to use is the SLATE Digital. And basically, this is how it works. It's triggering from the transients of the original sound, and it's going to load a sample based on the triggers. So we're going to load a snare here. Now, here's the thing, guys. This plugin is a demo plugin, and it's not allowing me to import my own custom sound, so I have to use the library that came with the demo. All right, so I'm going to close this, and I'm going to just play the snare alone. All right, you might have heard an extra hit there. That's because I clicked the mouse by accident. Now, I'm not really happy with the way that snare sounds, so let me choose another one. All right, much better. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play from the beginning. I'm going to solo the kick as well. Want it to play at the same time. Let's try it out. And I'm going to bring down the snare all the way down, and while the kick is playing, you're going to see me bring up the fader. Now you might notice that the snare that I chose, it's a live snare, but I like it. And there are other options here. If you play around with some of the options, you could kind of do the same thing we just did with the sample when we imported and we blend both signals together. There is an option here. I'm not going to get into that. But you could also use this to completely replace that snare and just use the sample. All right, so we're going to exit the SLATE plugin. Now I'm going to show you the final way I like to deal with snares, kicks. Here's the thing, it's using another plugin, and before we continue, we must consolidate the entire track. You'll see why in a minute. Now we have to go to the audio suite, we're gonna go to Massey, and then we're gonna load the Massey DTM. Now the Massey DTM, this plugin, it's no longer being offered. Well, this version anyway. When I got this version, it came with the Massey CT4, it was a free plugin. Now Massey's offering a newer version of this plugin, but I'm pretty sure what I'm going to show you here will apply to the newer version. Let's just show you how this plugin works. Make sure you consolidate the entire part, highlight it, analyze selection. And just like Beat Detective, you have a sensitivity bar and a threshold. Just make sure you set it up that it's only picking up the snare or whatever you're working with. Once DTM recognize all the hits, then you want to generate Midi. Once you generate Midi, this window's going to open up. You could close DTM now. Let's get rid of this. And I'm going to open a stereo instrument track. I'm going to go to Instruments. I'm going to load the Expand 2. That comes with Pro Tools. I'm going to go to Drums, and I'm going to look for some snares. Let's see. All right, so got snare menu here. Let me bring down the volume a little bit. Don't want to overload anything. Now you want to take this MIDI file, you want to drag it into Pro Tools. As you can see, it lined up with the original sound. Let's just make sure. All right, so everything looks on point. Now what we need to do is we need to take this instrument track, bring it down, and let's play and see what happens. So you could do two things. You could completely get rid of the original snare and just keep the sample snare. Or you could just blend them in together. Now, I wish I had more time. I would sit here, replace the kick, show you guys how to replace the hats and more parts and drum kit. But if you guys are interested, just post in the bottom. Let me know. I will make a video about this. See that yellow subscribe button? Click it. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Both of the plugins you saw, they're going to be in the description. Now, the cool thing about both plugins, you could demo them. They're unlimited. They do have limitations. I'm not going to get into the limitations, but just click the links, check it out. And guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Would like to hear some of your feedback. Later, guys.